Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you Game 4 in a series TLO versus Socke here in the Xel'Naga Caverns. Looking forward to these games so far. All the games have been brilliantly close or brilliantly executed by both sides. A lot of micro, a lot of intense action as we see TLO spawning on the top right hand side of the map as the red Terran, Socke spawning on the bottom left hand side of the map as the blue Protoss. Protoss versus Terran here in the Xel'Naga Caverns. Very, very interesting series so far as both players, it looks like they're going to be sticking to standard builds. At least Socke is building a close-to-home pylon. Meanwhile, we are getting a close-to-home depot here as well. Close to Home Depot. No sponsorship by any means, as we'll see what's going to be happening and what these players will be trying to execute. Both of these players haven't really gone into a very heavy macro game. The last game on Shakura's Plateau, perhaps the closest example, but both players didn't get into that 200 food count, which is normally associated with a heavy macro game. A lot of early action, a lot of back and forth, a lot of minor engagements that ultimately led to victory on both sides. Refinery now coming into play by TLO, pretty standard build. Meanwhile, back over here, Socke, Gateway and Assimilator, another very, very normal standard build. Should be getting up one more pylon, followed by a cybernetics core as a probe now makes its way off to the north. In order to do some scouting, the probe will come inside, see pretty much everything it needs to see, sees the barracks, sees the refinery, and knows that it's going to be a pretty standard build. Not quite sure where the additional supply depot will be placed out. SCV looking down over here perhaps for another supply depot as, SCV is ganging up on that one probe there for just a little while longer, and no second supply depot coming in from TLO. So I'm always curious as to when TLO places down that additional depot. He does delay it just a little bit, as he wants to get as many Marines out and get as much mining down as he can. Apparently waiting for a little while for that depot. Now training up some SCVs and getting up another Marine as well. We should be seeing a factory now come into play. There is that factory, as I mentioned, more Marines being added. That supply depot finishing at just the right time, as we are now going into a double gas build by Socke. So Socke looking to either 3-gate expand, heavy tech, or I would not say he's trying to 4-gate, as he doesn't really have enough energy there. He is chrono boosting out a Stalker, though, as the Zealot now makes its way off to the north. There's already 3 Marines, a 4th Marine now being added as well. Supply depot being added, and we'll see if a starport is added. No, it's not going to be a starport. It is going to be a command center, as we do see a delay in gas. So a slight delay in gas there, as after the factory was added, he pulled off all of his units. So command center now being built as well. You can see a TLO once again resuming the mining on gas. A Zealot gonna quickly check that there is no expansion, try to walk up that ramp, but 4 Marines will be able to fend it off pretty easily. The Zealot now being forced to pull back. Will it get shot down? 2 more shots, 3 more shots, or 4 more shots will do it, as the Marines are now going after the Stalker. The Stalker taking a lot of damage already and now trying to pull away. A very micro battle, as the Stalker does have superior range, and now a Hellion on the move. There is a proxy pylon down over here. Nothing to report, though. Will the Hellion spot it? The Hellion does spot it. And now gonna, I guess, start torching this one particular pylon, making sure that there are currently no buildings there. And now in comes this probe. So the probe is moving back over here once again. We are gonna have a bunker now placed down. Marines on the high ground. More Marines being added. It looks like we may have that 1-1-1 build that TLO likes to use. It looks like this Zealot down to dangerously low hit points. He may be able to finish off that one unit there. The Hellion getting some more damage onto the Stalker. The Zealot now being forced to pull back, as there was a Hellion at the low ground expansion as well, making sure that there is no expansion just quite yet. Stalkers are now warping in. That Hellion will be forced to pull back and trying to get as much fire damage as well. The Marines now continuing to push in. The Stalkers grouping together, and we'll see if this pylon will get destroyed. I don't believe so. There are double tech labs now being made, as well as we are going into that starport, as I mentioned earlier. So it was another barracks and not a starport, as Marines are now getting destroyed, as the Marines getting some damage onto that Stalker, as there was a low ground, or just within range by this one particular One particular bunker +1 range there. SCV now trying to be repaired once again. We are going into a Hellion add-on for that factory, or perhaps that will be swapped around in order. No, it is not going to be swapped around, so it is going to be double training Hellions. Yeah, double training Hellions, as we are now training up a medevac as well. Nexus now warping in on the low ground as well. It looks like it is about 70% completed right now, as the orbital command double training SCVs, or double muling as the game gets further along. A scanner sweep does reveal the expansion attempt down here, as TLO not quite sure what he wants to do right now. It looks like he's going to be transitioning into a bit of harassment, and we'll see how effective this harassment really is. He is running off of 2 gas right now, but he's still slightly behind, as probes are now being transferred here to the low ground expansion. You got to remember that these probes do not have that Blue Flame Hellion research. They are not going to be able to two-shot any of these probes. Yeah, they're not going to be able to two-shot any of these probes, as the Hellions or the medevac now simply going to be flying its way in, perhaps down over here, drop them into position, and then get as much damage on those probes as possible. Marauders still being added, another medevac being queued up as well. The Hellions now coming in, going to torch down one probe. More probes may get destroyed. Another probe getting destroyed there, getting down even more probes. Force fields finally coming into play, and it looks like it will be a drop now up onto the high ground. But will it come effectively enough? It does take 3 shots for these non-Blue Flame Hellions to finish off a probe. And will it be able to deal any damage at all? There's a force field. 2 probes were destroyed. TLO picking up his probes and now, or picking up his Hellions, and now will be able to barely escape there, flying back off to the north, as the probes now come back in order to continue their mining. Marauders and Marines now back on the low ground. SCVs are going back to mining once again. We are getting a reactor on that starport, so perhaps we will be getting some double medevacs or even some Viking training as this medevac now returns home. We do have Stimpack. Oh wow, TLO mispositioned his orbital command, being forced to lift it off and land it just a little bit closer there, as SCVs do a little bit of long distance mining, at least 1 trip around, and more barracks are being constructed again. It looks like a heavy bio play. Still no combat shield yet, interestingly enough, but we may be getting a lot more Marines. No, going into even more Marauders, strangely enough. More Zealots once again being added on. Sentries with a lot of energy, plenty of energy for Guardian Shield and Force Field, as there are Marauders, Marines, and Hellions in this group. More healing coming into action as the Hellions now make their way in. It looks like the Stalkers will be retreating once again. There are a lot of Stalkers here. Actually, only 4 Stalkers here. Superior number of Hellions, but the Blink able to retreat in time. As will those Hellions be able to come around that far side? There's the Force Field, but the Marauders and the Marines on the far side over here may be enough to finish off some of those units. There's one Hellion in a very nice position, able to focus down many of those Zealots. The Zealots getting stuck on the wrong side there, so the Hellions being forced back. Marauders getting forced back as well, as the Hellions try to continue this battle once again. The Marauders and the Marines able to split the army, and now the Terran army just really benefiting from some bad force fields, as those Zealots were just taking a shot after shot. Marauders and the Marines are now deep within the natural expansion, should be able to shut down this Nexus. It looks like this Nexus will get destroyed. There it goes. More units now trying to get destroyed again. More Hellions coming back to finish this off. An Immortal being added as well. No Marines in this group, so this is going to be very, very difficult. Just focus down the Immortal. The Immortal now going to get destroyed. There it goes. Zealots now getting destroyed. And Socke says GG. So this is Game 4, and we will be having a Game 5 in what I now know to be a best of 5 series between these players. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.